Warning, the following contains explicit language and subject matter that may not be suitable for younger listeners, church folk, and people who enjoy kale smoothies.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Pod Amongst Men. I'm your host, Steve B., and this is Coffee Break Conversations for the 21st Century. My guest today, DJ Aiden Scott, straight out of Philly, even though he's originally from Cali. He's a guy I met years ago, back when I was in my band days. He DJ'd in Atlantic City, and that's where I met him. We played a show together. Fucking cool guy, man. And he came on to tell us all about, his life as a DJ and what it's like, how it's changed is a big thing. And some of the cool places you got to play. It was just a fun conversation, catch up with someone I used to know in my former life. So, without further ado, here he is, Aiden Scott.
All right, I'm actually working on a mixtape right now for a record pool, and then I have to stream it. I have a set to stream later on tonight.
So,
I feel like
go ahead. Sorry.
No, go.
I was going to say, so what is it like? How are you making a living right now during all this COVID stuff?
Well, I mean, I was lucky enough to get the SBA grant, and then I got the SBA loan, which was helpful. But pretty much that's all gone now. I actually used that loan to pay off other higher interest things I had, because the SBA loan was really low interest, and it's like a 30-year payback. So it's
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was just it was almost like a debt consolidation loan for me that I just, even though it was a small business loan. But yeah, between getting unemployment through Pennsylvania, which took a long time to get, because they had to set up that whole pandemic relief thing. They had the PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Relief, right? Or assistance. And it took them, obviously nothing in our government works fast. So our state government websites are so outdated and just awful that it took them, obviously we all, kind of the whole industry shut down around March 15th was my last actual day of DJing at Mountain Bar in Atlantic City. And then that Sunday was the day that everything stopped. Everything shut down that week. And it took Pennsylvania until, let's see, that was March, maybe all the way into May. Ooh. I don't know why my Siri always opens up.
I've had mine do that twice, in the middle of a podcast.
Dude, I was on another podcast the other week, and it kept popping up, but I wasn't saying... Hey, I wasn't saying the command. Actually, I just turned her off. I turned her off. She's off.
Go to sleep, woman.
I never use Siri on my laptop, so I don't even know why I have it turned on.
I don't even use it in general. The only Apple thing I have is the laptop. So I'm not even used to it. Yeah.
I use Siri all the time to set alarms and set timers and reminders for me on my phone, but I never use it on my laptop. Anyway, so back where I was. When I talk, I go down tangents. So
no,
you
totally
might
cool.
But I'm just saying that there might be some times where you have to guide me back
to where we were. Get back in.
Yes, exactly. So I don't think I saw any government assistance until May. So luckily, I'm the type of guy, I kind of live paycheck to paycheck anyway. Just not because I don't make a lot of money with what I do. It's because I spend a lot of money. I'm a spender. I'm not a saver. But luckily, because of, what I made as a DJ, I was able to coast for a while until the government assistance, kicked in. And that was back when we still got the extra $600 a month. And luckily, they backdated everything. So, I got paid from March 16th all the way until sometime in May when I actually got money. And then just got my weekly unemployment from them. But then that was going good for a while, and then that kind of got all fucked up too. Can we curse on this?
Oh yeah.
Can we curse on this? Okay.
Let them fly, buddy.
Yeah, I have a sailor's mouth. I'd be really bad on live TV, I think. It would be very hard for me to...
I'm a construction worker, so you don't have to filter anything with me, all right?
Plus, I'm drinking beer, so it's fine.
Yeah, I'm fresh out, actually, so I have
fresh
water
out
tonight. Yeah.
Dude,
I had
I
my tacos, so I got one fix in today.
Yes, dude, I had the worst dinner fail tonight. I sous vide a lot of stuff, so like I sous vide meats.
What is sous vide?
Sous vide is or sous vide. I don't know how you actually pronounce it. I always say sous vide, but I think it might be sous vide. It's a French method of cooking in water inversion. Okay. So you essentially have this a sous vide device is a metal cylinder that you stick into a vat of water, and kind of like the way a portable steamer works, where it heats the water up really fast, or a Keurig machine, like a Keurig heats water up very fast. It's kind of like a very big version of that, where it heats the water up to an exact temperature, and you can cook things at an exact temperature. So if you put, like, for example, on Sunday, I put in a picanha cut, which is essentially a sirloin top cut beef. Mm-hmm. And typically when I do a picanha, I'll sous vide it for 48 hours, like sometimes 36, 48 hours, something like that. And the beauty of it is with meat anyway. So like, say you like your meat at medium rare, at that exact temperature. You can cook it at that exact temperature for as long as you want, and it will never overcook. The only thing that'll change the longer you leave it in there is the fat will render. So like the longer you leave it in a sous vide, the more the fat will melt and make the meats kind of like super, super tender. Mm-hmm. So it's really great if you like to buy really inexpensive cuts of meat, like pork butt or like, bottom roast, stuff like that, like big roasts that are cheap. And you can sous vide them for 24 hours, 48 hours, and they come out being like a prime rib. It's pretty amazing.
That's pretty cool.
But anyway, I put this meat in on Sunday and set the sous vide up, and it's connected to an app on my phone, of course, like everything. And I guess I never hit start. So I come down. Me and my girl come down to do dinner before this interview, and I get down there and the water's cold, and I'm like, fuck. So we had tuna. We had tuna sandwiches for dinner tonight.
Can't mess with that.
Yeah, not amazing beef.
It's quite a departure from what you were planning on, I'm sure.
When you get your mind set on like this, like your mouth's watering because you're like, oh, I've waited 2 days for this. I've waited 2 days to eat this.
Yep.
And fail. It's the first time I've ever failed doing a sous vide though, so I guess I was due for one.
Well, at least you didn't fail actually cooking it. Like it was just planning.
But I did ruin a whole cut of meat because it's been sitting in water, 76-degree water for 2 days,
and not cooking. Gotcha.
And not cooking, so now it's throwaway.
Yeah, that one hurts. That hurts a little bit. All right, so let's circle back. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's do a little intro. So do you want to kind of give your own intro as to who you are? I'm sure you can describe yourself better than I can. Even
though I hate describing myself, but
keep it brief. That's all.
My name's Aiden Scott. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm essentially a California transplant. I grew up half of my life in California. So from 1980 to 1997, I lived in California, like an hour and a half outside of San Francisco. And then my family got relocated, or my stepdad got relocated out here to Pennsylvania. And we ended up living like an hour outside of Philadelphia.
Whereabouts?
Limerick.
Okay. I lived in Lansdale for a while. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So like Limerick, Royersford area, but we lived in Limerick. And I finished my senior year of high school there. Now, up until this point, I was a jock. I was a skater. I was punk. I was all the things you're not supposed to be at one time. But music was never like my thing. I did like music, but it wasn't like I wasn't a music nerd. Kind of and my parents never were either. My parents didn't really introduce me to music. My first memories of music were when it was before my mom got remarried and she was a single mom and we were living alone, and the whole Columbia House thing started.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it was like
you send them like $10, you get like
Yeah,
15 CDs.
Yeah, but this is before CDs. This was cassette tape still.
Nice.
This is like in the late 80s. And it was like 20 cassettes for a penny. And so my mom let me pick music, even though I had no idea what I was picking. Like I got to pick like half of her selections, and I was just going on names. I was picking names.
You're picking based on album covers?
Exactly, album covers and names. And I remember like having, God, I don't even remember like Steve Miller Band and one of the first cassette tapes I can really remember was when I was a teenager, but it was Soul Asylum.
Okay.
Do you remember that song Misery? Misery? I listened to that song all the time.
The only song I know by them was Runaway Train.
Runaway Train, yeah. There was another song called Misery, which is like their other big hit. But yeah, Runaway Train, yeah.
That's the one. That's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They had a whole bit about that.
Yeah.
D threw the piss out the window.
So, like, I never had musical influences. And then in high school, when I would say probably a freshman, yeah. When I was a freshman, I started aggressive rollerblading, right? So I got into that scene. And it was like right when that scene started, too. I mean, they really didn't even make gear for it at that point. So we just started taking rollerblades and jumping on handrails and stuff. But at that point, I started listening to punk rock, like Pennywise and Offspring.
Isn't it amazing how like certain scenes, like we rollerblade or we skateboard, and it's tied to certain genres of music.
It has a soundtrack to it.
Yeah.
And what's
Tony
funny
Hawk's Pro
is
Skater
with
too. It's all in there.
The soundtracks to Tony Hawk Pro Skater are, I mean, that changed that opened a lot of people's minds to that type of music. Again, this is like an offshoot, but I just recently watched this documentary called Pick It Up, and it's all about ska in the 90s.
Okay.
A great documentary. I highly recommend any of your listeners to go check it out. You can go to skamovie.com, so SKA movie.com, and you can buy the digital copy or Blu-ray or whatever. But if you grew up in the 90s or the 80s and just like you're a teenager in the 90s and you listen to ska, like you will learn some shit from this documentary that you've never heard before. But like Goldfinger was debuted on Tony Hawk, I think 1. And that was like the first introduction to ska for a lot of kids at that time. But yeah, so like the skateboarders and rollerbladers obviously weren't supposed to like each other at that point either. Mm-hmm. It was very, you were either a fruit booter or you were a real skater, you know? And but,
I haven't heard that term in a while.
Right?
Fruit boots, yeah.
I don't think you're allowed to say it anymore, really. But
yeah, I guess I could see that, but that's all right. Yeah. We'll say it anyway.
So it was always funny because I always thought it was stupid for that because I like to skateboard and I like to rollerblade. Mm-hmm. So like, why are you guys hating on each other? And my argument to that always was, I was like, the reason why rollerbladers are more badass than you skateboarders is because if you guys jump up in the air and do a trick and you know you're not going to land, you can ditch your board and land on your feet. Yeah. We as rollerbladers, we're stuck to our wheels. So if we bail, we bail. But anyway, so I skated and rollerbladed, and we started watching like all the skate videos that came out, right? Mm-hmm. And the skate videos typically had 90s hip hop soundtracks. So these skate videos were like kind of my introduction. Let me backtrack real quick. When I grew up in the 90s, where I lived in California, you were supposed to like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Tupac. Like that was hip hop on the radio.
Naturally, yeah.
Where I lived, you know, and then obviously East Coast, where I wasn't yet, was Biggie, and you had your Brooklyn hip hop. You had Tribe Called Quest and Farside, and like, you know, all the boom bap and all the backpack hip hop. But like on the West Coast, you had Snoop Dogg, you had Dre, you had Tupac, you had the Hieroglyphics, you had Jurassic 5.
Nobody talks about Jurassic 5. I feel like they're criminally underrated.
They are very criminally underrated, but anybody who loves hip hop loves Jurassic 5 because Jurassic 5 was kind of what Black Eyed Peas would have kept being if Fergie never got involved.
Yep.
But at the same time, Black Eyed Peas made a shit ton of money, and Jurassic 5 just kind of stayed cool.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, that's really made their money. But again, like Black Eyed Peas, their first couple albums before Fergie were super dope. That was like real
Joint's
hip
a
hop.
jam.
That's one of my favorite records ever. It's like the ultimate head bob song.
Yep.
If you don't bob your head to that song, you might not have a soul.
Yeah. Or you might
So
just be
anyway,
dead.
so I started getting introduced to. I remember hearing Tribe Called Quest and Farside for the first time ever on skate videos, and I loved it. So I was the guy who was skating to, like, my playlist on whatever was like, you'd hear Bad Habit by Offspring, and then all of a sudden it would be Running by Farside, and like I was like all over the place with my musical tastes. I was never that guy who hated a style of music because I didn't vibe with it. Like, like people, okay, for example, a lot of people say like Justin Bieber sucks. And I'm like, okay, why does Justin Bieber suck? Well, he's like poppy and blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, is he a good musician? Can he play more instruments than you can? Is he vocally sound? Yes. Okay, well, he's a good musician. You just don't like that music.
Yes, I get in arguments with people all the time. There's no such thing as a bad musician. It's just you don't like it. It's not your cup of tea.
Oh no, hey, hang on. There is definitely a thing as a bad musician.
Okay, touche. As a former musician, I can attest to that. I'll correct myself.
There's people who can't play in key, or lots of different things.
Well, the thing is, there's not such thing as bad music. Maybe like everybody likes everything is for someone. I feel like.
Yeah,
barring
I
a
can
few
see that.
extreme examples.
Exactly.
Maybe, with the exception of Yoko Ono or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a place and time for everything.
Yeah.
Which kind of eventually brings me, I move over. There is a bug in this room right now, and it's driving me nuts.
This is like a scene from Breaking Bad right now.
I know, right? So, my family gets relocated to Pennsylvania. It's between my junior and senior year of high school. I end up going to the Votech school here instead of the high school. So I go to the Votech school and study architecture and engineering. In that class, we had a co-op. And like halfway through the year, you were allowed to apply for a co-op job. And I ended up getting hired by this dude who was like maybe a year older than me, 2 years older than me at the time. And I started working for him. And he introduced me to like the late 90s rave scene. Like, okay. He introduced me to a style of music called drum and bass, which I don't know if you've ever heard drum and bass, but it's very big in Canada and the UK, and there were pockets of it in the States. It was never popular. It never got popularized, but there's an underground scene for it still to this day. So I heard drum and bass for the first time, and then he started taking me to Philadelphia, to clubs in Philadelphia where they were rave clubs, and I heard this DJ named Bad Boy Bill for the first time. Now, at this point in my life, just to make extra money, like I had a really good music collection, like a big CD collection. I had a lot of music, and I never thought of a way that I could make money with it. But I responded to like a newspaper ad for a mobile DJ company that was looking for assistants, to make, summer money or whatever. So I started working for this mobile DJ company when I might have been 18 at the time.
And
I was either like...
What exactly is a mobile DJ company?
Like a private party. Like, like those hokey wedding guys. That,
gotcha.
And again, the guy I worked for was that quintessential hokey wedding guy. He was not a good DJ by any means. He just had a company. And he got booked by people who could afford whatever he was charging. So I did a lot of Sweet 16s and stuff like that, because I was the right age, and like I guess I was like a good looking dude. So like I had appeal for these people to book us like at Sweet 16s and high school dances and shit like that. So I started playing open format music, which I didn't. That wasn't a term I knew at that point, but I was playing top 40 music to private parties.
Oh, what exactly does open format mean?
Open. I mean, it means exactly. It's very. Yes, open format means the format is open. The format of the music is open to anything.
Okay.
People like Z-Trip and DJ AM popularized that style of DJing in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, where you could go to bottle service clubs and hear the DJ play, a Biggie record into an AC/DC record, and the crowd loved it. That was a whole air, right? I miss that era of clubs because today bottle service clubs and the crowds they attract, between social media and everything else that like the evolution of nightlife has seen, and you saw part of this too.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people got dumber and dumber, and their tastes got smaller and smaller, and they really only cared about what was hot and looking fly on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever for people who weren't even at the club. You know, like bottle service wasn't about having a good time and dancing. Bottle service was about flossing, like spending as much money as you can to impress some chick, and then impressing your friends who aren't there, you know, and like just the whole vibe.
Doing it for the gram.
Yes, the whole
you spend half
vibe
the night
of
like this.
Yeah, and it's lame. It's lame for performers to see that because people aren't living in the moment anymore. They're living for future moments that they can look back on, which nobody ever does anyway.
Well, I've had this conversation with people all the time. Like when you want to stop to take 1,000 pictures, no matter what you're doing, it's like, do you really think you're going to be going back and looking at these?
Yeah.
Like you have so many at this point. It's one thing for when, you know, maybe 10 years ago, 2010 was when, you know, it was right before Instagram blew up. People would take pictures and be on Facebook or MySpace or something. And it's like, okay, then maybe you'd look back. But now you have a decade of all these pictures just stockpiling. And it's like you can never go back through all of this stuff. Who has
No, you can't. It's insane. Like me and my girlfriend are both the same mindset where even though I'm a photographer as well and I like taking pictures, I constantly, when I'm out doing something, I'm never thinking of, hey, we got to get this shot for, you know, for our memories later, you know? Mm-hmm. And sometimes me and my girlfriend both have to stop and go, oh, we should probably take one picture of us here just so we have it.
Yeah.
And there has been situations where we just totally forgot to take any pictures and we don't have we only have our memories now, which is, I guess, the way it's supposed to be. But,
well, that's I've always, like, that was a George Carlin thing back in the day. He was saying, like, why do you want to photograph? You need documentation of everything that happened in your life. God forbid you actually remember something.
Yeah, God forbid. And it's, I mean, I guess it's just the evolution of the human mentality, but it's, and now we kind of sound like the old guys, I guess. We're like
I am. I've just kind of leaned into it at this point.
I mean, there's certain things that are new and interesting that I lean into, and there's certain things that I'm just like, why are you dumbing yourself down to this? Mm-hmm. Like TikTok to me. I never got into TikTok, even though it's one of the biggest things in the world right now. And yes, there are some funny things you can find on TikTok, and they're entertaining, but the majority of it is just mind-numbingly lowbrow, like just the lowest of the low humor. Mm-hmm. And just like, I mean, have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
Yes, I have.
It's
chilling at this point.
It's really chilling at this point to see where we are as a country and where we are as a human race. And you start seeing how these things are playing out, and it's like, really? Don't you see where you're wrong path?
It almost seems like there's so many people who've kind of just given up as far as, you know, being involved in affecting, you know, where society or government or anything, the world around them is going. So they just kind of accepted this, you know, it's like, all right, I'm just going to look at all this dumb stuff and kind of have that willful ignorance and hopefully they get the bliss that comes along with it. And it's, you know, now you're looking at the lowest common denominator everywhere. It's just
of course
the stupidest, simplest thing. It's a girl shaking her ass, or it's a guy, you know, doing a trick shot with a ping pong ball. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with dog shit entertainment.
No.
Within reason.
Yeah. I hope I'm not putting out that vibe.
No. I just, even with what I said, there is nothing wrong with having guilty pleasures as far as entertainment is concerned. The problem I see is that too many people, that's their whole palette of entertainment is lowest common denominator entertainment. And they're not doing anything to actually make themselves smarter or learn something new, or they're not balanced. There's no balance between it. I mean, there's some shows that I watch that's like is dumbass humor, but at the same time, I also listen to a bunch of podcasts that make me smarter. So there's a balance to life that a lot of people are on way one side or the other side. And like, I mean, there's the people that are on the far other side as far as they don't consume any, like, fart joke. There's no fart jokes in their life. Fart jokes are funny as fuck.
Well, that's blue comedy. I'm not interested in that.
Exactly. And those people suck too.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I like a good medium. I've like, dude, it's like, not even to get political. Everything in my life, I like to be somewhere in the middle of things, because it's like, if you go extreme in any one direction, you kind of lose me. I'm just like, ugh.
You need that variety. You need that variety of perspective, of influences. That's one of the things with music, you know. Like, I'm the same way, where I want to absorb as much different things from all these different places and sources, because that's what makes you more of a person.
Yes,
and it gives you
makes you more well-rounded.
Yeah, and it gives you knowledge that most people don't have, because they just live in this little corner of the world and they do the same thing all the time. They drink at the same bar. They listen to the same 10 albums from the friggin' 70s. They play the same fucking Led Zeppelin songs on the radio every day, and then they just eventually one day they die, and that's it.
And that's what I mean. Just to bring it to the current day times, you see a lot of this on social media where, like, I'm deleting everybody that doesn't agree with me, and it's like, okay, there's a certain amount of people that are like really out there that you should probably like take away from your news feeds that are toxic.
Yes,
but you should never create an echo chamber of your own thoughts, because then you never see the other side. And if you don't see the other side, you can never firmly understand why people are thinking what they think, or where these views are coming from. So like, I don't like to block out things that I don't agree with.
Of course.
Because I want to know.
Yeah, and one of the things is you can never really fully understand your own point of view until you see the opposition to it, because then you could gauge whether or not your ideas really stand up to scrutiny. Because it's like a boxer who's never been in a fight. You don't know how good you are until you've actually tested yourself. And ideas are the same way. If
that's the saying.
If they don't hold up to some guy with a Facebook picture of him holding a fish, then maybe your ideas aren't that strong to begin with.
Exactly. It's obvious.
No offense to the fisherman out there. Sorry.
Sorry, fisherman. I think Joe Rogan has said this several times about the thing that fixes bad thought is good thought. So if you completely shut out all the bad, if you can't have a conversation, the bad thought or the toxic thought will continue, unless you can have a civilized, educated debate on the subject. Like, that's why I don't really believe in any censorship of language. Like, people say, well, you can't talk about this. Well, if you don't talk about this on a platform where you're not saying it's bad, you're not saying it's good, but you're talking about it for educational purposes, there should never be anything off the table as far as education's concerned. Like, you need to be able to learn, even if it's shitty stuff. You got to be able to have an educated viewpoint about it, and the only way to get an educated viewpoint about it is to discuss it.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
we got way off on a tangent on that one.
That's what I do. So back to 1998, when I was a mobile DJ, and I got introduced to the rave scene. I heard a DJ named Bad Boy Bill from Chicago, and Bad Boy Bill played a style of music that's now kind of classified as Chicago hard house, disco house, booty house. But he took all these genres of house music and he scratched over them, and he cut and he juggled, which was kind of like not something people who played that kind of music did. Like, you just played house music. You weren't doing tricks. You weren't doing hip hop tricks with house. And so I heard a CD of his in 98. It was called Bang in the Box Volume 3, I think it was. I think it was 3. I heard that, and I instantly went out and bought my first set of turntables and started going to the record stores in Philly every week and buying vinyl. And so that started my whole, like, I guess, cool DJ career, where I was playing at underground parties. A lot of them were up in Allentown area, like in the Allentown, the Lehigh Valley area.
Yep.
And I played some spots in Atlantic City. This is back in 99, 2000. And I was making like no money doing this because I wasn't a big artist. I was just a DJ that was on a bill of like 500 other DJs on these rave lineups. So I was really doing it just for the love of doing this. And then eventually in I want to say it was like 2002, 3 or 4, somewhere in that realm, I decided to make the switch from a underground rave DJ to an open format DJ so I could actually start playing open format like top 40 clubs where you could actually make some money as just a DJ. And I changed my name, my DJ moniker I had a rave name back in the day. It was called DJ Zero, Xero. And then I switched it to Aiden Scott. And just started getting booked at, corner bars and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And it was funny. There was a guy, his name is Mike Alba, who was like an old Philly house DJ. I had moved to Manayunk. I moved into Manayunk in 2005, and I started going out on Main Street Manayunk to the bars. And at this point, I was also straight edge too. So like the first 12 years of my career in music, I was 100% sober. So no drugs, no alcohol, nothing until I turned 30. So I was still going out to bars.
That's a good run, man. You went through the prime years of drinking and partying.
Exactly. Clean. And I think that's why I kind of stayed somewhat young in a way. Like I never got all like partied out and got haggard. I was, not that there's anything wrong with all that stuff, but I kind of did my life. I did the opposite that most people do. Like they start drinking in their teens and usually quit by my age. And I just did the other way around, mostly because my biological dad was an alcoholic. So I saw how that goes.
Gotcha.
And I never wanted to be that. Not that my biological dad was an awful person. He was just neglectful and had a problem. He was like never violent to me anyway. Mm-hmm. But I made it in my teenage years when I heard what straight edge was. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know I was that, but I guess that's what I am now. And that's kind of how I got into the punk rock and ska scene too, because I was like big with straight edge kids. Funny enough, I never got into the hardcore scene. A lot of straight edge kids were in the hardcore.
I tell people this all the time. Like we talk about like metal and like all these like playing shows and being in bands and being around that whole scene. And I'm like, yeah, no. Everybody say, oh, these guys they jump in mosh pits. They got to be on drugs. I'm like, no, actually, a good portion of those guys are completely straight edge and like devout Christians even. Like, it's not at all what you think from the outside. I mean, clearly, I'm sure there's death metal guys out there that probably have like pictures of Baphomet on their wall. But for the most part, the people that I've seen like in our age range, those guys were mostly straight edge. They didn't even fuck with drugs. They don't even smoke weed.
No, it's funny. I mean,
it blows people's minds.
It really, and people don't believe you either. They're like, oh, there's no way. Like, I mean, again, I was in the rave scene from '98 till mid 2000s when the rave scene kind of died because of the Rave Act. But
what's
everybody,
the Rave Act?
It was an act that I think Joe Biden pushed forward back in the day. I think it was Joe Biden. It was definitely a Democrat who pushed it. But it was a bill that made promoters liable for anything that happened. It made promoters and owners liable for anything that happened at their events. So like if somebody overdosed on ecstasy or whatever at a rave, it could be the promoter could be prosecuted. So it took this level of responsibility for everything and made it so that people didn't want to throw these parties anymore. And that's
most likely the desired effect of the bill.
Yes. Yeah. Which, I mean, there's probably way more to that bill than I'm glossing over, but that's essentially what happened. And people were less likely to throw parties. So like the whole scene kind of crumbled. But you'd go to these big parties and almost everybody was on some form of I mean, back then it was ecstasy, which is, changed to Molly, to whatever, whatever it is now, MDMA. That's one of the things I've actually never done. I've never done any of those drugs.
Yeah, me neither.
And I never, again, I never touched anything until I was 30, and then I drank and started smoking weed. And but again, I'm getting fast forward again. So I met Mike Alba in Manayunk in 2005. And now at this point, Mike Alba knew who I was, and a few other guys knew who I was because of the house scene, like the rave scene. But they knew me as a house music DJ. That's what they knew me as. They didn't know me as somebody who could play hip hop or anything else. And I started hanging out with Mike Alba at this venue. I think it was called Yonkers back then. It has since been called. It's now. I'm not going to be able to think of it, and I don't want to waste time trying to. But whatever the venue is now, I was hanging out there with Mike Alba, and Mike Alba started letting me up in the DJ booth, and I started. He'd play a song like he'd be playing like Nelly or something, and I'd say, "Oh, you know what would mix go with this?" And I'd say, "He's like, dude, I was gonna play that next anyway." And he started understanding that I knew how music worked, and like my knowledge was more than just the house music scene. And it eventually got to the point where he had to take a night off. He had something to do, and he's like, "Yo, can you cover for me tonight?" So I covered for him at this like top 40 spot on a Friday night. That particular night, one of our other mutual friends who knew me as a house DJ shows up looking for Mike Alba to ask him something, but he shows up and finds me. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Aiden, you play hip hop?" And I go, "Yeah, I play hip hop." And he goes, "Shit, I got some gigs for you then." And then he started booking me at this college bar in University City, which is still there, called Smokey Joe's. And from there, I ended up getting an agent at the time, not the agent I have now, but like, you know, it was a very go-getter girl. Her name was Rosie Kim, who kind of took on me and a few other local guys, young guys that were DJing. And we kind of created this little collective. And then I just, I started making a name for myself.
Before we move on, like you said, you got an agent. How does that work as far as like being a DJ? Because most people's only knowledge of an agent is like as an actor or something like that. I know like bands will have booking agents or something.
Yeah.
But is it the same thing essentially, or?
I think back then, we didn't even know what it really meant. We just became friends. This goddamn bug. We just became friends with this girl Rosie, who was like a business major, and she's like, "I could help you guys get gigs. Like, I could be your middleman and negotiate for you guys." And a lot of us, and I've always kind of had this mentality. I know some people are very hands-on when it comes to their business. For me, I don't want to be bothered by the business sides of things. I'd rather focus everything on the creative side of things.
I get that.
And have somebody in my life that I can trust enough that's going to do the right thing for me on the business side, elsewhere. So I never wanted to, that's the pro of a creative type having an agent negotiating for them is a lot of people are afraid to ask for what they're worth. And an agent can be that person that isn't afraid to ask for what you're worth. And I always liked that. As long, again, you have to trust your agent. You have to trust that whoever's working for you has your best interest in mind and is willing to go to bat for you.
What's funny, a lot of the creative types, like even I'm guilty of this myself. Like, you're not always the most assertive type of person. You're not always going to put yourself out there, and we will avoid conflict. So like, all right, that's where we're getting paid. All right, that's fine, whatever.
It's again, I come from an era of DJs too that we were introverts. 100% introverts. The era of DJ that I came up into, it was never the cool kid that goes, "Oh, DJing's cool now. I want to do this because I'll get famous." It was, I'm an introvert. I'm skating or I'm doing this, and I love music. What can I do with music? And so like a lot of the DJs who came out of the 90s and even earlier 80s, and even early 2000s, kind of before social media ruined everything, and made a lot of things better. But there's a lot of my generation of guys coming up in music were doing it because we were music nerds, or we were just nerds in general. We were geeks.
Yeah.
And we found this outlet. Yeah, and we found this outlet that let us express ourselves, and maybe some of us got cool because of it, but internally we're still that same scared teenager that's socially awkward. And personally, I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself. I have an extreme fear of social situations for the most part, even though it doesn't come off that way when I start talking. Or like if I'm behind my turntables, I can get on the mic in front of 1,000 people and talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But if you told me, hey, go walk up to that girl and hit on her, I'm like,
Isn't it amazing how much anxiety that can give you?
Yeah, and do you know what imposter syndrome is?
I suffer from it all the time. I've talked about it on the show. I have a huge problem with that, especially with my career, with work. I always feel like I have no idea what I'm doing, and they're going to figure it out today. Today's the day they're going to get me.
100% me. I always I know deep down I don't suck at what I do. Mm-hmm. I know that. I also know deep down I am not the best at what I do. I know that. But I constantly struggle with, if I don't do this right this time, they're going to find that this is it for me. This is when they're going to find out that I'm not who they think I am. And that's one of I think a lot of creative types struggle with that specific thought process in their heads, which is one of the hardest to get over. But you kind of don't want to get over it because
it keeps you hungry, keeps you humble, keeps you from getting keeps that hubris away, you know?
Yes, that it keeps the ego in check.
Yes.
You know, it keeps the ego in check. And there was a point in my DJ career when mid to late 2000s, 2007, 8-ish maybe, where I was the Friday night resident at Z Bar in Philadelphia, which is the dopest after hours club at the time in Philadelphia, and I was one of the residents. I was playing the pool in Atlantic City at Harrah's when it was cool to play the pool. Mm-hmm. And my ego got out of control. I used to be the biggest asshole. I'm still an asshole, but I'm a way nicer asshole now. I'm a less egotistical asshole now. I'm much more a self-deprecating, I'm not good enough asshole. But there was a point where my ego kind of got out of control, and it's funny. A lot of my friends from back then, they know that version of me, and they know the version of me now. And maybe that's something that comes with age, just being older. I turned today's the 1st. I turned 40 in 9 days, and over the past, I want to say 5 or so years, in my last half of my 30s. Mm-hmm. Again, I started listening to more podcasts. I started broadening my horizons as far as, politics or science or this and that, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I started second guessing every knee-jerk reaction to anything I had. Everybody has that knee-jerk reaction to whenever they hear something or they see something, and that's natural, that's normal. It's being able to take that initial reaction and essentially psychoanalyze why you reacted that way. Was that the right way to react? And processing that real time to being a better person and how you view the world and how you respond to stimuluses that we all have every day.
Yeah, that's huge, is that self-awareness. And a lot of people don't take the time to do that. And I feel like that's why you have so many assholes out there. And not the good kind of assholes, not the friendly, funny assholes. But the kind that just think they know everything and they never take a second to just kind of reflect on their life and the way they've been and the way they treat people. And, that's a major thing. But the fact that, you have that self-awareness, that's huge, and I always want to give credit to people that do that.
It came with age, I think. It really came with age. And I think a lot of people in their 20s, they go through that phase, especially if they find any form of success. Mm-hmm. Or, I'm sure you saw it in the cover band scene with bands that got really big. You see personalities change. You see, and you see this in real time. And sometimes it's hard to step back and go, oh, this is a phase they're going through. Don't take any of this personally. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they're going to find their way out of it, type of a thing.
Well, it's
and
tough
I've seen
with like a
Yeah.
band or like any kind of business like that, it's tough to not take things personal when they weren't supposed to be personal in the first place. And
Yep.
then you have all these conflicting relationships and personalities, and it's a mess. And especially when someone doesn't take the time to stop and think about how they're treating people and what they're doing and whether or not their ego is just completely overinflated, it leads to a lot of problems.
It's that for sure. And a lot of people, everybody will say they prefer the truth. Everybody. But everybody does not want truth. And it's funny, every new friendship I get into, like when it starts getting to the point where like we're going to be close friends, I give them the warning. If ever a time arrives in your life where you need somebody to make you feel better about yourself, do not come to me. When you want the truth about whatever situation you're in or whatever opinion of something is that you want from me to be truth, come to me. But don't come to... I have horrible bedside manner. I will not say that I think something's dope if I think you're better than that, or if I think that it needs work. I'm not going to do it. So I've lost some friends because I was honest with them, which sucks because you're only honest with them because you're friends with them.
Yeah,
and
because you value them as a person. You don't want to lie to that person.
Exactly. And I don't, as hard as I am on myself, I don't want anybody to be easy on me because that doesn't help me. Being easy on me does not help me at all. I mean, it might make my ego feel better, but it doesn't make me a better person, or it doesn't get me better to whatever I'm doing right now.
Well, I think some people respond differently to different, types of criticism or whatnot.
Yes.
Some people like they appreciate the harsh criticism. This is the real truth. This is what it is. Yo, that shit it doesn't slap. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Or some people when you give them that hard truth, they just kind of fall apart and then just everything goes inward. So it's
because they take it personal. They take it like it's a personal attack on them, and it's like no, it's not a personal attack on you at all. It's I know that you can do. Yeah. It's like I know you can do better than this, and I don't think that this is like the best thing you could have done. It doesn't mean it's bad per se. It's a step. Maybe it's a stepping stone. Maybe it's something that's going to get you to this other thing. And it's again, whenever you got to be able to step back and look at the big picture of everything. And most people don't ever do that. They're stuck in whatever, like they're stuck in their, what is it? The 3-foot bubble or whatever they call it. And that's all that they are aware of. And they're not thinking of like, well, I mean, all right, this wasn't that good, but it taught me a few things. And now the next thing I do is going to be better. Like right now, I mean, to base that on my personal life, I've been diving deeper into Ableton and original production, which my entire DJ career, or whenever I started messing around with making my own mashups or bootlegs or edits, I used Ableton and I could cut together bootlegs, but I never actually did anything original. Like I never opened up a synth and like wrote something, and now that's what I'm trying to do. Like I'm taking Ableton classes with a couple producers that I really like, and I'm trying to get heavier into making some of my own stuff that fits within the genres that I'm doing right now. Okay. Because again, that's like we can take a step back there. Obviously, my DJ career's open format DJ went fairly well as far as it could regionally. Where like I guess I was a top tier open format guy in the tri-state area, and I was a spring break DJ, and that was all fun and it was fun for a long time. Don't get me wrong, I had a lot of good times. Spring break was a blast. I did spring break like every year from 2012 to last year. Every March and April, I was in the Bahamas. It was nice.
Well, let's. I want to actually get into that. Like some of the different places you've been. Like you've been all over the place. Like, what are some of your favorite spots? Like cities, clubs, anything that sticks out?
The dopest club. There's 2 clubs that are like right there, kind of maybe tied for the dopest places I've ever played. both of which are in the Dominican Republic. Both of them are in Punta Cana.
Okay.
Also, the best food I've ever had is in Punta Cana. Love that place.
It's not one you hear all the time.
No. It's because a lot of people who go to Punta Cana, they stay on the resorts. And that's it. They don't actually go to the city because the city looks dangerous and arguably is.
It kind of is.
But some of the food you can get there is mind-blowing and dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. Anyway, so like my first 2 years of being a DJ for Student City, which was at the time was the largest travel organization for students in the world. Like they're the guys that threw like the Cancun spring breaks that MTV was involved with. And if you remember the season of Real World, the season
Road
of
Rules?
not Road Rules, Jersey Shore. One of the original Jersey Shore seasons, they were in Cancun and had to get jobs. They worked for Student City.
Okay.
Like they,
It's a big organization.
it's a big organization, yeah. But anyway, there were the guys that were hosting all of the destination parties and providing all the travel for college students to go to these places. And so in 2012 and 2013, the spot that I was at was Punta Cana. It was my first experience traveling overseas to DJ or out of the country to DJ. And I mean, it was amazing because the connections you make, the friends you make, because it's like going away to camp in a way. Like you're with all these people for 30 plus days, and every week you get a whole new batch of students in. Like so, like every week resets. So it's like Groundhog Day. Every week resets, but almost every day is Groundhog Day because every day you wake up, you go do the day party. After the day party, you take a nap, maybe. You get some food in you, and then it's time for the nightclubs. And then you go to the nightclubs, and then you drink, and you DJ, and you party, and then you maybe catch some sleep, and then you wake up and do it again for like 30, 40 days straight. Which, and when I'm not even exaggerating at all when I say that the first thing you do when you get up is start drinking. You start drinking and you eat something and you party and you drink and you party and you drink and you party and then you maybe nap and then you drink some more and it's like.
How long can you go like that before you just completely the wheels fall off?
I mean about 40 days. It's weird though. I will say this, and I there's a lot of different reasons why this might be a thing. When I'm in the Bahamas or Punta Cana, I don't get hungover, but I drink like 20 times the amount I would at home that would cause me to get hungover. And some people have said that because of the import regulations of America, they have to like put additives or whatever into certain things that will cause worse hangovers. And this is complete bro science right now. Bro science. Do not take any of this as actual science. But I will say it could be the sunshine, it could be the beaches, but you know, you would drink your face off every day and I wouldn't be hungover. But again, you got to the point where like the day party every day started at noon, and it was like a 4-hour, it's like noon to 5 or noon to 4 every day. And a lot of the DJs that were there, like we were different than staff. Staff members were kind of, I mean, they were staff. We were kind of like the paid entertainment. So we were a little bit more reckless, and we had way more leeway on things we were allowed to do without getting sent home. Actually, it was almost impossible for entertainment to get sent home unless, like, I don't know, you fought one of the staff members or one of the managers.
Yeah, you really have to go in.
You really have to do something real stupid to get sent home as entertainment. But we would essentially we would skip breakfast almost every day. Very few of us ever got up early enough to get breakfast. We'd roll out of bed, you know, still probably a little bit drunk from the night before, and right out to the day party. And then it just starts over again. But anyway, back to the clubs. The clubs in Punta Cana, there's a club that's, one of them's on a resort. So if you ever go to Punta Cana, there's a club in the Hard Rock called Oro, O-R-O. And
Spanish for gold.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what.
gold.
Maybe that's what it's named after. Maybe it's gold. It's I think it's the sister club to Live in Miami, which is another big club in the States. Live, L-I-V.
So it's a famous one.
Yes, I think it's the same owners as them. But this club, you walk in and it's exactly what you expect in like a movie to walk into a club. The way it's laid out and just like the lights and it's like you walk into a movie. And there's another club in Punta Cana called Imagine. Now, this is a club that you have to go off resort for because it's built into a cave, an actual cave. There are bats in this club.
You might have lost me already now.
It's just unique and dope because you're in this cave partying, and it's kind of surreal. I played one of my first day glows. Actually, my first day glow, which is like a big EDM festival.
Mm-hmm.
We had it there in 2012. And I got to play Dayglow, which like, you're in front of like 6,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was insane. It was the most people I ever played in front of, I think, at one time. And so those two clubs are the dopest spots I've ever DJ'd at for sure. As far as just memories.
Now that the spring break thing, like how many people can say they got to do that? You know, you get to go on spring break for 40 days and 40 nights. Like, Jesus.
Well, that's the thing. And I worked for Student City, which was the biggest of the spring break companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, how many DJs are there around the States, especially at that point? This is 2012. Like everybody and their mother and their cousin and their dog was a DJ at that point. It was a cool thing to do. It was the cool thing to be. So everybody was, buying cheap equipment, downloading all the free music they could get. And they were, a lot of the people at that time were like, they were little EDM kids, they couldn't DJ worth shit, really. They couldn't,
yeah.
But they were DJs. And they had a lot of friends, they had a lot of friends. They were in college, whatever it was. Everybody wanted these jobs. Everybody wanted these gigs. And everybody has always asked me, they're like, well, how did you get this gig? Like, what did you do to get this gig? And I tell everybody this, and it's almost a life lesson. I didn't earn that gig. I didn't do anything really to get that gig. What I did was I had a pretty amazing group of DJ friends in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And literally the path for me DJing my first spring break year was it was 2011, and this is Manayunk 2011. If you know anything about Manayunk, it's a big college party town.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a club there called Mad River. I'm sure you've been to Mad River.
I've never been there,
Maybe.
but I've heard of it.
So Mad River was a spot that one of my close friends was the resident DJ of and had tight connections there through parties there. And I would play there every time from time to time. This was one of, I forget which year of Jersey Shore this was, but obviously Jersey Shore was very big with the college kids. And the venue brought in, I want to say JWoww was there. Might have been JWoww and I don't know who else. One of the dudes, not Polly. I think one of the dudes is there. And it was right after the year that they all worked for Student City.
Okay.
So the guy who books all of the talent for Student City, his name is Terry Cabell, DJ TC, who's originally from Chicago, but now he's like in Boston somewhere. He was a DJ, but also ran the entertainment side of things for Student City. So he was the one that was booking all like the big name DJs and stuff for them. And because he developed relationships with the Jersey Shore people, he decided to come that day to this party. He met my boy, his name's DJ Daly, still one of my best friends to this day. He met Daly at this party. They hit it off right away. Like, Daly has a great personality. He's very charismatic. Like, I don't know anybody who doesn't like him.
Mm-hmm.
And they became friends. And now that year, usually this Student City books all of their entertainment in December,
Okay.
before the next year's spring break. So they booked DJ Daly. They booked Daly for Cancun spring break the next year. And it's kind of unheard of to get booked for Cancun your first year because Cancun is like the big one. And so he got booked for that. And then I want to say in February, like early February, one of the DJs who was supposed to be in Punta Cana that year dropped out for some reason. I have no idea who it was. I have no idea the reason. But Terry, TC, because he hit it off with Daly so much, calls him up. And when Daly takes this phone call, he's sitting in a car next to one of our other DJ friends. And he takes the call, and Terry's like, yo, do you know anybody who in 2 weeks can drop everything and go to Punta Cana for a month? And I guess Daly was gonna call me and ask me, but he's like, our other boy was sitting right there, and he goes, yo, are you able to like drop everything and go here for a whole month? And luckily for me, our other friend couldn't do it. So I'm the next phone call. And this is right when it was my first year DJing with Near Dark Entertainment, and Jason Goldfarb was my agent. I was DJing at the backstage pit at House of Blues at Showboat.
Yeah, it's where we met.
Yes, exactly. This is where I met. This is kind of where I met all of my band friends, in a sense. Like that was the initial, like that's the origin story for a lot of us.
Well, that's the only place I've ever played where you actually got to interact with the DJ. Like we took turns. Like you did a set, we did a set, and then vice versa, and we just go back and forth. That was the only place like that I ever played.
Exactly, and I'm still pretty sure I was kind of an egotistical douchebag at that point too. But
I don't think so, because I mean clearly we've been Facebook friends all this time, and now here you are.
True.
Could have been that bad.
True. Although I am a way different person now than I was then, for sure.
Well, we all are. And if you're not, there's something wrong.
Yeah, that's what I always hate when people say, like, oh, well, you had this idea before, but now you have this idea. It's like, yeah, it's called education. I was presented with new information. It's called growth. So I had that residency, and like things were going really well for me in Atlantic City, and I'm like, fuck. I called up Jason. I'm like, yo, can I take like all of March and part of April off to go do this thing that's going to be bigger for me, and it'll probably be better for like everybody in the long run. Mm-hmm. And he made it work. So I'm like, yeah, I can go. And that I went to Punta Cana with Student City for the first time. I was the new guy. But the beautiful thing about Student City is they're loyal as fuck. Like, if you hit it off with them and their staff, mm-hmm. and you're not an asshole, and you're halfway decent at your job, you're like family for life now. And even though there's a million DJs who want that spot, like, you're always going to be the first call. And that's cool. So I made my connections that first spring break, and not knowing if I was going to ever come back. But then, the next December came along. He's like, yo, you want to come back to Punta Cana? So I did another year in Punta Cana. And then after 2013, they actually downsized the Punta Cana program and moved me to Nassau in the Bahamas. So from the next 5 years, or 5 or 6 years, I was in Nassau.
Wow,
which
beautiful.
Like dude, there's literally been times because of all the current day shit going on that me and my girlfriend said, do you want to just pack up and just move to the Bahamas? And because I have a lot of friends in the Bahamas now, like locals, mm-hmm. and I personally love Nassau. It's a great little town.
I've only been there once, and it was just like the tourist spots.
Oh, you did the cruise ship thing?
Yeah.
Came out on the cruise ship? Yeah.
So we're coming up on time here. Before we get out of here, there's one thing I wanted to make sure I really asked you. You've been doing this for a long time, like decades now. 22
years now.
So have you noticed any distinct shifts in terms of club culture and where it's gone? I know we talked about this a little bit in the beginning. Is it all just everybody wants to hear the top 40 thing and nobody knows anything about any other kind of music? Because I've seen you've done your little Facebook posts where you kind of recant a little interaction with someone at a club, and it was very funny to me. But
I've gotten in trouble for a lot of those posts. I've Which I don't think I should, because I'm just providing commentary, essentially. So some people see it for what it is, like I'm sure you did. Because, again, you were in the industry, too, where you dealt with the same idiots.
The same people, yeah.
The same people. And there has definitely been a huge shift in DJ culture since when I started DJing and now. When I started DJing, the DJ wasn't the focal point, really, of any night. The DJ was tucked away in a corner in a DJ booth, and then the whole place was like a dance floor, and there was bars. Mm-hmm. People danced. Wallflowers stayed on the walls. That's what it was. And nobody cared. I mean, people did care, but nobody really cared who the DJ was. And that was beautiful because you could do what you want. You really weren't taking requests. People came out to clubs to hear stuff they knew, but they were there to hear new stuff as well. Like, maybe this DJ is going to play something I've never heard before.
Yeah.
That's what kind of hurts my soul about what the crowd is now. Because, especially in the top 40 clubs, the bottle service clubs, people come out to those clubs very close-minded. They only want to hear the same 5-10 songs they heard on the radio on the way to the place they're going. And if you don't play that song, their whole night's ruined. And it's like, I can't grasp the mentality of somebody who needs to hear this song that you can leave and play it on your phone and you're fine. Why not? Like,
I'm gonna push back a little bit on that one, only because I know that I was always like the kind of like a very imaginative person. Like I would see scenarios in my head. I'd be the guy arguing with myself in the car. Like, for when I see that person in 2 hours, this is what I'm gonna say. But if you, like, I used to like to dance. Like, the few times I've seen you when I wasn't playing, like, I was always on the dance floor, and you have it in your head. Like, I know what I'm gonna do when this song comes on. I have all these moves ready to roll. And if I don't hear that song, it's not gonna work right. And, you know, it's like the one thing where you're expecting one thing, like you're waiting for that one food, and then when you can't have it, then your whole night's shot, you know? So okay. That's the only thing I'll say in regards to that, because I am guilty of that.
Here's what I'll say to that.
Okay.
If you're a good dancer, you can do your moves to whatever the DJ plays.
No, that's
if it's
true.
in the right tempo.
That's true, but if you're a psycho like me, like, no, I wanted it. I wanted this song. I wanted to hear "Fine China" by Chris Brown.
Yeah, and again, I don't mind playing the hits. I don't like it when an audience feels entitled, like I'm the help, like, you know, we're the help, and they're running shit. Because, I mean, we all play these parties where there's a bachelorette, or there's a birthday, or there's whatever. I'm sorry, but if you go out on any of these special occasions, which they are very special to you and your circle of friends, but they are not special to the rest of the place at all. Not at all. If you're part of a birthday party or a bachelorette party or a bachelor party, it is not the entertainment's job to single you out and make you feel special. That's your friend's job to do that, not our job. Our job is to make an environment for everybody there to have a good time. Now, if that, like, obviously we do shout-outs, and I don't mind doing shout-outs. I like them better when I have an MC to do it, because I'm a very involved DJ. So if I have to stop doing what I'm doing to cater to everybody and as one person, I always tell people, I'm like, if I say your name on the microphone right now, I'm going to have 1,000 people come up to me asking for their name, and I can't tell them no now. And so I have to what's the word I'm looking for? I have to
turn them away, essentially.
I have to manage expectations.
Okay, gotcha.
I have to manage expectations for people, which a lot of people will think you're a dickhead for, and you're the worst person in the world. But that's just the bratty way that a lot of the newer generation is they come out and they're very entitled because of social media and because of platforms like Spotify and just instant music. They all think that everything is instant. When I started DJing, you came out and the DJs literally took the crowd on a journey throughout the night. It had a warm-up, it had a climax, it had a cool down. And now the crowds, top 40 crowds.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like the more underground crowds. Like, again, we never even talked about what I'm doing on Twitch or the party I'm throwing, but like, this is all in reference to just like top 40 clubs and bars and that crowd. They all want to hear whatever the hottest Pop Smoke song is right now, or else you suck and fuck you. And it's like, that's not how our world works. That's not how the band world works. And people vilify us because of that, because we didn't bow to their instant demands that Spotify gives them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the top 40 culture, the top 40 club culture has gotten worse in the 20 years I've been a DJ. But at the same time, let me parlay that into what I'm doing now. A year ago, almost exactly a year ago now, I started my funk brand, FNKD. It was something that I've always been a fan of funk music or anything with like that funky twang. Mm-hmm. Whether no matter what genre it is, whether it's house music or it's indie dance or new disco or ghetto funk or drum and bass or, you know, any of these genres that can have a funkiness to them. Typically, none of them are the more popular top 40 type stuff. But I wanted to create a community of people who liked that stuff and do something to bring us all together locally. Because in Philly, that scene doesn't exist. Again, the stuff I'm doing on Twitch right now, that funk style I'm doing, is much bigger in other countries. Like a lot of my Twitch viewers, which obviously my Twitch has grown from nothing to being pretty popular, but I have a worldwide audience now, and I have a lot of Canadian viewers, I have a lot of UK viewers, Australia, Thailand, Germany, like shit like that. But my whole goal when I started that party, and this is pre-COVID, pre-quarantine, my idea was to do it locally. Now, because of quarantine, I reshifted my thought process and brought what I was doing in Philly to Twitch. And I was already, because I was a photographer and a videographer, I was already set up with cameras and lights and a green screen, and all the tools that I needed to produce a nice looking stream. And, in March, late March, I started doing it on a regular basis, and now it's grown, and I've met people. I am now friends with people. I have FaceTimed people who, before quarantine, they were people that I just looked up to. They were producers that I liked their work. They were other DJs from around the world that, like, if it wasn't for this virtual community, they wouldn't know who I was, and I would have never been their peer. I would have just been a fan. And now, because of this, again, this is the silver lining for me, is before quarantine, I was very in a rut. I was in a creative rut, a musical rut, where I was stuck playing a lot of the same stuff everywhere I went because that's what the crowds wanted. And like a lot of my real creativity and what I wanted to do was gone. And it wasn't till quarantine happened where I got reinvigorated with playing music that makes me happy.
Kind of reignited that fire.
Yeah, and connecting with other like-minded people that like what I'm doing and trust what I'm doing and respect me for what I'm doing. Not saying, hey, play this right now or we're leaving. It's like, all right, we'll leave. Bye.
You see all these other people here? Like, go ahead. Yeah. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine. We don't need you. It's changed my whole way of thinking about DJing again. Like, I was getting very burnt out as that DJ, and now I'm much more inspired with it.
No, that's
because
awesome, man.
Yeah. So it's been.
Go ahead.
No, it's just been very eye-opening, and the silver lining for me with everything. Which again, I know a lot of people are struggling right now a lot, and this is like the shittiest time in the world. And it is. But if you look hard enough and you use this time to learn something new, you're gonna come out of this a better person. And
Absolutely.
A lot of people they're not viewing this as an opportunity. They're viewing it as woe is me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, everybody's situation is different. People have kids. They have, they're living paycheck to paycheck, but they only make a little bit of money. And there's a lot of different situations that can really, mess with your mental, your mindset.
Yeah.
Your mental state. So I'm not saying that everybody has to be like, oh, I can use all this new free time to better myself. Some of us aren't in that situation. Luckily, I was, and a lot of people who haven't used this time to do something. Like, do something.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
If you have the time, use it. That's simple as that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're pretty much at the end mark here. We're gonna cut it down. Aiden,
Okay.
thank you very much for coming talking to us. What do you have
Absolutely.
to plug? So where can they find you?
Okay, so right now I'm focusing a lot of my attention on Twitch. So I don't know how many of your viewers know what Twitch is. A lot of people think it's just for watching video games.
Well, I have a lot of gamer viewers, so they'll know what it is.
Yes, so Twitch, but obviously, if they are gamers, they know that over this past 6 months, DJs kind of came into your territory and we have by far not taken over Twitch. The biggest gamers are getting far bigger views than the biggest DJs on Twitch, but it's a home for us. It's a home that Twitch has actually made moves towards making it legal for us to do it, because technically they're still walking a very gray area when it comes to copyrighted music. But I mean, Twitch is owned by Amazon, and Amazon, if they really wanted to, could spend the money to have the proper licensing for what we're doing, because DJs are bringing Twitch a lot of income. It's a new thing, but it's new. It's all new. So twitch.tv/DJ Aiden Scott is my page.
There'll be a link right there.
Awesome. There'll be a link on the screen. I do scheduled shows every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Mondays are at 7 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays are now at 5 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays are at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Fridays, I do a disco type show, like a lot of disco influences.
Okay.
And I do it earlier. I wake up earlier than I like to. And I usually jump on around noon or 1 p.m. Eastern. But at the same time, if any of your viewers actually follow me, make sure you turn the notifications on, because I do pop-up sets all the time. Like tonight, when I'm done here, I'm doing a set at 10 o'clock. Yeah, 10 o'clock. But the community on Twitch has been awesome. But if you don't have me on Twitch, Instagram, if you want to see my photography, it's Instagram at Aiden Scott. My DJ page is at DJ Aiden Scott. So those are my two Instagrams.
Straightforward enough.
Yes. Yeah. And other than that, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And then if you go to my Instagram, you can find all my other stuff. You can find my Mixcloud, you can find my SoundCloud, you can find pretty much everything. So if you remember my Instagram, you can kind of find everything else.
Fair enough. That's a good jumping off point.
Yeah.
All right, brother. That's it, man. Thanks for doing it.
Absolutely.
That is it. That's the interview, people. So big shout out to Aiden, DJ Aiden Scott. Ooh, I kicked the camera. Thank you for coming on. Make sure you guys go check out his Twitch stream, follow him on social media, all that stuff. I already wrote the links for all his stuff in the show notes, and it's on screen if you're watching. So you already saw it. You don't need to take heed of what I'm saying right now. But for us, as usual, you know where to find us on Instagram at APodAmongstMen, and Twitter as well, same handle. You can email us at APodAmongstMen@gmail.com for any long-form questions. If DMing just is not in your forte, yeah, you can email. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, let us game the algorithm a little bit so we can get a boost in our views. And make sure you follow on social media. Listen to the show wherever. If you're not listening or you're watching, make sure you listen on either Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. And I think that's it, guys. I think that's it. Be notified. We might have some merch for sale. When I say merch, I mean like stickers. Might have them for sale. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But if we do have them, I'll let you know. Be warned. You heard it here first. So that's it. Until next week. Peace.